Most people walked past the old streetlight without noticing it. But every single night, a thin boy with worn-out shoes sat beneath it, holding a borrowed book and a dream far bigger than the darkness around him. They called him poor. They called him unlucky. But one day, the entire city would know his name. The evening sun slowly slipped behind the crowded buildings of Maple Street, painting the sky with soft shades of orange and gold. Cars rushed past, people hurried home, and shop owners began closing their shutters for the night. Near the corner of the street, under a tall flickering lamp post, a small figure quietly sat on the cold sidewalk. His name was Ethan Cole. Ethan was only 12 years old, but life had already asked more from him than most adults ever faced. His clothes were clean but faded. His backpack had been stitched together many times by his mother, Maria Cole, using pieces of old fabric. Ethan carefully opened a thick math book. The street light above him buzzed softly as it turned on, glowing brighter against the fading sky. Perfect. This was his classroom. Every night after helping his mother at their tiny roadside fruit cart, Ethan came here to study. Inside their small one-room apartment, the electricity often failed. Sometimes there wasn't enough money to keep it running. But the street light never failed him. Ethan leaned closer to the book, whispering the problem to himself. Okay. If the train travels 60 miles per hour. His voice was quiet but focused. Cars passed. People walked by. Most didn't even notice him. A few people glanced at the boy sitting on the pavement, then quickly looked away. But Ethan didn't care. Inside his mind, something bigger was happening. Dreams. Huge dreams. One day he wanted to become an engineer. He wanted to build bridges and skyscrapers that touched the clouds. Not for fame. Not for money. But because he loved solving problems. Because numbers made sense in a world that often didn't. Suddenly, a voice interrupted his thoughts. You studying again? Ethan looked up. It was Mr. Daniel Harris, the old librarian who ran the small public library 3 blocks away. Mr. Harris had noticed Ethan months ago when the boy walked into the library wearing worn shoes but holding books like treasure. Ethan smiled politely. Yes, sir. Mr. Harris crouched down beside him. You know, most kids your age are playing video games right now. Ethan shrugged slightly. I don't have one. Mr. Harris chuckled softly. Still, you could be doing something else. Ethan looked back down at his book. For a moment, his voice grew quiet. I want to build things someday. Big things. Mr. Harris studied the boy's face carefully. There was no doubt in those eyes. No hesitation. Just determination. The old librarian stood up slowly. Well, if you're going to change the world, he said, smiling warmly, you might need better books. The next day, something unexpected happened. When Ethan arrived at the library after school, Mr. Harris handed him a small stack of books. Not old ones. Brand new ones. Mathematics, science, engineering basics. Ethan's eyes widened. Sir, these are new. Mr. Harris nodded. A smart mind deserves good tools. Ethan held the books carefully, almost like they were made of glass. Thank you. That night under the streetlight, Ethan studied harder than ever before. Page after page. Problem after problem. His mind racing with curiosity. Sometimes he struggled. Sometimes he failed. But every mistake taught him something new. Every night the city slept. But Ethan kept learning. Months passed. Winter arrived. The air became colder. Snow sometimes gathered on the sidewalk while Ethan studied beneath the glowing lamp. His fingers froze. His breath formed small clouds in the air. Still he didn't stop. One evening, Maria walked down the street carrying a small thermos. She watched her son quietly from across the road. Ethan didn't notice her. He was completely absorbed in his notebook. Maria slowly approached and placed the thermos beside him. Hot cocoa, she said softly. Ethan looked up and smiled. Thanks, Mom. Maria gently brushed his messy hair. You don't have to push yourself so hard. Ethan looked back at his notebook. Yes, I do. Maria didn't argue. 'Cause she knew something. This dream wasn't pressure. It was purpose. Years slowly moved forward. Middle school turned into high school. The fruit cart still stood on Maple Street. Life was still difficult. Money was still tight. But Ethan's determination never changed. Every teacher began noticing him. His grades were exceptional. His ideas were brilliant. One afternoon, during a school science competition, Ethan presented a small model bridge made from simple wooden sticks. But the design was different. Stronger. Smarter. Efficient. The judges were impressed. One of them leaned forward. "Who helped you design this?" Ethan shook his head. "No one." The judge looked surprised. "Where did you learn this?" Ethan smiled slightly. "Books and a street light." That day, Ethan Cole won first place in the regional science fair. The prize wasn't money, but something far more valuable. A scholarship opportunity. A chance to attend one of the best engineering schools in the country someday. When Ethan ran home with the news, Maria hugged him tightly. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You did it," she whispered. But Ethan shook his head. "No. This is just the beginning." That night, under the same glowing street light that had watched him grow for years, Ethan sat down again with his books. The same sidewalk. The same lamp. But his dream had just taken its first real step. And somewhere deep inside his heart, he knew. This street light was only the starting line of a much bigger journey. The morning sun slowly rose over Maple Street, but Ethan Cole was already awake. The small apartment he shared with Maria was quiet except for the soft sound of pages turning. Ethan sat at the tiny kitchen table studying physics problems before school. Maria watched him from the stove. "You're going to wear yourself out," she said gently. Ethan smiled. "I'm just warming up my brain." Maria laughed softly. "You're 12 going on 40. But she knew something important. Ethan wasn't studying because someone forced him. He was studying because he loved learning. Because knowledge felt like freedom. As high school continued, Ethan's reputation quietly grew. Teachers started giving him extra projects. The science club invited him to lead experiments. Even students who once ignored him now asked for help with homework. But Ethan stayed humble. He still helped Maria run the fruit cart every evening. He still studied under the streetlight. And he still borrowed books from Mr. Harris at the library. One evening, Mr. Harris approached Ethan with a serious look. "I've been thinking," he said. Ethan looked up. "That's usually when something big happens." Mr. Harris chuckled. "There's a national engineering scholarship competition next year." Ethan blinked. "National?" Mr. Harris nodded. "If you win, your entire college education could be paid for." The words hung in the air. College. A world that felt impossibly far away for a boy who studied on a sidewalk. Ethan swallowed. "What do I have to do?" Mr. Harris smiled. "Build something that solves a real-world problem." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. Ideas raced through his mind. Bridges, machines, energy systems. But then something clicked. Water. He remembered something Maria once said. In poorer neighborhoods, clean water was often difficult to access. Some families walked miles for it. What if he could build a simple water purification system that anyone could afford? The next day, Ethan started designing. Old plastic bottles, charcoal filters, sand layers, basic engineering principles. Every afternoon after school, Ethan worked on his prototype behind the fruit cart. Sometimes customers watched curiously. "What are you building?" one asked. "A small solution," Ethan replied. Weeks turned into months. The design improved. Failures happened often. Water leaked. Filters clogged. But Ethan never stopped adjusting. Never stopped learning. Finally, the day of the competition arrived. The hall was enormous. Students from across the country displayed advanced robotics, solar systems, and complex machines. Ethan looked around nervously. His project looked simple compared to the others. A compact water purification device made from low-cost materials. But Ethan believed in one thing: purpose. When the judges arrived, one of them asked, "What inspired this?" Ethan took a deep breath. "My mother once told me that clean water should never be a luxury." The judges listened carefully. Ethan explained every detail. The materials, the design, the science behind the filtration layers. When he finished, the judges exchanged thoughtful glances. Hours later, students gathered for the results. Third place, another student. Second place, another name. Ethan's heart pounded. And first place, Ethan Cole. For a moment he didn't move. The room erupted in applause. Ethan slowly walked to the stage, stunned. That victory changed everything. Universities noticed. Scholarship offers arrived. Doors opened that once seemed impossible. But the most important moment came weeks later. Ethan stood again under the old streetlight on Maple Street. Mr. Harris stood beside him. "You're leaving soon," the librarian said quietly. Ethan nodded. "College starts in the fall." Mr. Harris looked up at the lamp. "You know, this light has probably watched thousands of people walk by." Ethan smiled. "But only one person used it as a classroom." They both laughed softly. Ethan looked up at the glowing bulb and silently thanked it. Because this simple streetlight had illuminated more than just pages. It had illuminated his future. 10 years passed. Maple Street looked almost the same. The small fruit cart still stood near the corner. Maria still sold fresh oranges and apples with the same warm smile. But something big was about to happen. A black car slowly stopped near the sidewalk. People glanced curiously. The door opened. A tall man stepped out wearing a simple suit. His eyes scanned the street carefully. Memories rushed back instantly. The flickering lamp, cold pavement, the stack of borrowed books. It was Ethan Cole. But now the world knew his name. After graduating from one of the top engineering universities, Ethan had designed revolutionary low-cost water systems used in developing communities across the globe. His inventions helped millions gain access to clean drinking water. But fame had never changed him. He still remembered exactly where everything began. Ethan walked slowly toward the fruit cart. Maria looked up. For a second, she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her. Then her eyes widened. "Ethan," he smiled. "Hi, Mom." She rushed forward and hugged him tightly. "I saw you on the news," she said proudly. "The mayor even talked about you." Ethan laughed softly. "I just build things." Later that evening, Ethan walked down Maple Street. The old street light still stood there. Still glowing. Still steady. He sat on the sidewalk beneath it. Just like he used to. People passing by recognized him now. Some whispered. Some pointed. But Ethan simply opened a notebook and started sketching a new idea. A young boy passing by stopped. "Are you really Ethan Cole?" Ethan smiled. "Sometimes." The boy pointed to the notebook. "What are you doing?" "Thinking." The boy looked curious. "Why here?" Ethan looked up at the streetlight. "Because this place reminds me that big dreams can start anywhere." The boy sat down beside him. "Can I learn too?" Ethan nodded. "Of course." And just like that, under the same glowing street light, a new story quietly began. Because success isn't just about reaching the top. Sometimes, it's about lighting the path for someone else.